It's Thursday, May 9. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Concern is mounting that levels at two of the corporate area's major catchment facilities continue to decline despite supply restrictions imposed by the National Water Commission more than a week ago. As of yesterday, the Mona Reservoir was at 29.1% of capacity, with the Hermitage Dam at 30.3%. It's being reported that 90% of the 450 supply systems operated by NWC are now affected by drought. Director of the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, Evan Thompson, says the dry spell could worsen if the island experiences low rainfall this month. The former People's National Party administration spent U.S. equivalent of Jamaican $150 million on the National Identification System, NIDS. This revelation came from Prime Minister Andrew Holness in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The revelation came as the Prime Minister answered questions from Southeast St. Andrew MP Julian Robinson. Mr. Holness disclosed that his administration has spent $1.3 million or 2% of the loan received from the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, for the NIDS to be implemented.
To date, $1.358 million has been spent. Let me read the exact figure. US $1,358,972.26, or 2% of the NIDS loan has been spent to date. Question 8. Sorry, you want to say that a little louder? Do you want to know how much your government spent on NIDS and never even brought a bill to this house? Do you want to know? I would advise you not to say a word.
Mr. Robinson accused the Prime Minister of arrogance.
Prime Minister, would you agree that the implementation of NIDS, while the matter was before the full court, and even worse after the court reserved judgment, was a high-handed act driven by arrogance and demonstrated gross disrespect and contempt for the judicial process of the country?
Prompting this response.
The answer to that, Mr. Speaker, is unequivocally, absolutely no. That the opposition has been hypocritical and untruthful in their characterization of the NIDS project. Between 2011 and 2016, the government of Jamaica spent $1.26 million on the NIDS project. $1.26 million on the NIDS project between 2011 and 2016. How much Jamaican is that again?
Order, please.
$150 million Jamaican dollars.
However, opposition members challenged the Prime Minister to reveal how much the PNP had spent on advertising NIDS, which he did.
Oh, you want to know? Oh, lovely. On advertising, Mr. Speaker. On advertising. They spent $95,000 on advertising. Hold on, Mr. Speaker. They printed T-shirts. They developed advertising plans. None of that, Mr. Speaker, was ever used. We still have the T-shirts there, can't be used. $95,000. But that is not it, Mr. Speaker. They spent on consultants $641,000 on consultants. Mr. Speaker, as I said, Mr. Speaker, there is a certain level of hypocrisy and untruth on that side about the NIDS project.
NIDS was recently struck down in the Supreme Court on the basis that several of its key provisions were deemed unconstitutional. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is lamenting the spate of sexual violence and murder of children.
We are still horrified at the brutal murder of 11-year-old Trisha Morris of Woodland District in Hanover and 8-year-old Shanta Skiles of Stirling Castle, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Both girls were on their way home from school. Both were reported missing and both were later found dead. Inevitably in cases like these, it's not strangers. It's not, a freak accident. Inevitably in cases like these, it amounts to persons who they know from the community, the very community that is supposed to be raising the child. So again, it is a reflection on the community. It is a reflection on the entire society, that within our midst, there are those who would prey on our children.
The Prime Minister says it's time to rid our culture of the belief that sexual assault is to be tolerated. Mr. Holness was addressing the launch of Labor Day and National Workers' Week on Tuesday. The Health and Wellness Minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says he will be bringing key pieces of legislation to Parliament this year. Dr. Tufton admitted that enough had not been given in the previous legislative year.
In terms of the legislative agenda, Mr. Speaker, I must admit I am disappointed. And if there is a weak link in our stewardship in public health, it is that we have not tabled legislation to advance some of the laws that are necessary for reform and change. I am guilty as charged since I'm the man on the bridge. We're going to work this year, though, to correct that.
Among the bills targeted are the Tobacco Control Bill and the Opticians Act.
The Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, we expect to table this year, and my colleague there did a lot of work when he was Minister of Health. I want to recognize him. And I am going to make sure that your legacy is transferred from you to me, so that next time around, somebody will say, this man did a lot. No, but it's a partnership. It's a relay. And you have done well, and we owe it to you and the work to continue. The Opticians Act, Mr. Speaker, is another. The Food and Drugs Amendment Act and the Public Health Funeral Establishment and Mortuaries Regulation. That one is an absolute priority. We have to deal with that this year. We're having too many complaints of persons picking up bodies in taxis and so on. It is unhealthy. It is not good. It is disrespectful to the victims and to their families. We're going to deal with that, Mr. Speaker.
Dr. Tufton was making his contribution to the sectoral debate on Tuesday in the House of Representatives. Jamaica has become the first Caribbean nation to host the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith welcomed the IACHR delegation to the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on Monday. The Foreign Affairs Minister said the event could serve to share the perspectives of the region on the implementation of, quote, our obligations under the American Convention on Human Rights, end quote. Meanwhile, President and Rapporteur on the Rights of Children and Adolescents of the IACHR, Esmeralda Arosmena de Tiro, says that holding the sessions in Jamaica fulfills one of the commitments of the IACHR, which is to raise awareness of the inter-American system in the Caribbean. The IACHR's 172nd period of sessions continues at the University of the West Indies regional headquarters, with public hearings currently underway to end on Friday. Customers of the National Commercial Bank, NCB, should expect some disruptions of services this month. National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited says starting May 17, it will embark on a major upgrade and modernization program for its core banking and online banking platforms. According to NCB, this upgrade is expected to last 4 to 6 weeks in total. In a statement to the press, the bank said, quote, "The purpose of the upgrade is to create a technological platform that allows us to improve on the speed, efficiency, customer friendliness, and reliability of the banking services we provide to our valued customers," end quote. The bank said to facilitate the upgrade, all branches will be closed at 1 p.m. on Friday, May 17. Banking hours will be extended to 3:30 p.m. from Tuesday, May 14 to Thursday, May 16 due to this early closure. NCB also noted that all online banking and mobile app services will be unavailable from approximately 3 p.m. on May 17 to 8 a.m. on May 20. During this period, customers may still conduct transactions via ABMs and point-of-sale machines. The Police High Command is encouraging all members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force to remain vigilant in their personal safety. The High Command made the appeal against the background of a fatal gun attack on Constable Tudmar Allen, who was assigned to the Mobile Reserve at a bar in Rollington Town, Kingston this week. The police reported that Allen, who served the JCF for over 12 years, was among patrons at the establishment when about 12:15 a.m. two men armed with guns approached and opened fire at him. The police were summoned and Allen was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. In a statement Wednesday, the Police High Command condemned the attack. In a bid to prevent a repeat of Tuesday's shooting incident in which two construction workers were seriously injured, additional security was put in place at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, where restoration work is underway. Head of the Western Regional Health Authority, Errol Green, which oversees Cornwall and other health facilities in Western Jamaica, said that the shooting had sparked a review of the security arrangements and emphasized that the issue was a matter of priority. Reports are that about 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday, the accused shooter and another construction worker got into a quarrel after a bucket that he was using to haul concrete mixture via a pulley fell, narrowly missing the head of a supervisor. The man, who is now on the run, reportedly left the site, later returned with a firearm and opened fire on the man. The man was hit 7 times, while another man was caught in the line of fire, suffered a single bullet wound. Stress can be explained as a feeling that people have when they are overloaded and struggling to cope with demands. Anything that poses a real or perceived challenge or threat to a person's well-being can cause stress. Today on Healthy Living, we'll explore the symptoms of stress and how it affects us.
Mommy, I need the bills.
Baby, I'm hungry.
Well, becoming irritable, intolerable, headaches, chest pains. That's another way. Not being able to eat, loss of appetite. That's another way that you can identify that you're stressed. And most persons that are stressed, they're miserable. Trust me, it's not easy to be around them. Yeah, and when these things are happening, then you need to, take an introspection. See what is happening, what's happening at work, what's happening in the family.
Acute stress is short-term and often caused by thinking about the pressures of events that have recently occurred or upcoming demands in the near future. You can experience tension headaches, upset stomach, or some amount of distress. Episodic acute stress happens to people whose lives present frequent triggers of stress. They have a tendency to be irritable and tense. They worry on a constant basis. This type of stress can also lead to high blood pressure and heart disease. Chronic stress is the most harmful type of stress. It grinds away over a long period. It occurs when a person doesn't see an escape from the cause of stress and stops seeking solutions.
Yeah, different phases of depression, right? So it's not that someone will just get up and be totally depressed today. It comes a little stress and it's not dealt with, it's not managed, and then you become more depressed. So you have different phases until you reach that mental phase where then you'll have to get medication and be monitored. So we don't want persons to get there. We want persons to become aware before they reach that stage.
What are some of the illnesses that can come on when you're stressed out and you don't know, and you hold on to that illness for a period of time?
Cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and death.
So all the non-communicable diseases have a link to stress?
Have a link to stress, a lot of them. You see, our lifestyle that we live affects our health. Whether you're not getting enough sleep, that can also stress you. If you're not eating properly, you're not eating at the right time, because we have, the stomach is called a little brain, and that's where most of the hormones that help to balance your mood, this is where it is produced. So if you're not treating the gut well, then you're going to come under stress.
Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline and an increase in the price of diesel effective today. That's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $135.84 and $138.68 per liter, respectively, down by $1.37 each. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $137.81 per liter, following an increase of 58 cents, while ultra-low sulfur diesel increased by 91 cents and will be sold for $141.80 per liter. Meanwhile, kerosene increased in price by 75 cents and will be sold for $117.37 per liter. Remember, marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markups to these prices. The US dollar on Wednesday ended trading at Jamaican $137.19, up by 13 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar ended trading at Jamaican $102.95, up from $100.78, while the British pound sterling ended trading at Jamaican $179.37, up from $178.26. In regional news, Chairman of the 15-member Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Dr. Timothy Harris, says peace will continue to be elusive in Venezuela until the contending parties are encouraged to sit down and agree. Harris, who is also the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, told the third ministerial meeting of the International Contact Group on Venezuela that CARICOM reiterates its position of non-interference and intervention in the affairs of states, respect for sovereignty, adherence to the rule of law, and respect for the constitutional order and democracy. Here's more news from the region.
What I would ask the court to do, if the court does come to that conclusion, is to hear the parties again on what further consequential orders ought to be made. I'm saying that because the decision that you make, or the orders that you make in this case, if you are minded to set aside the appointment, may be impacted by the result of the appeal which you are to hear tomorrow. In other words, if the court were to conclude in relation to that appeal that an election must be held, and that it must be held within a short period of time, then we would want to address the court on whether you ought to consider suspending, quashing the order, quashing the appointment of the chairman in order that the election would not be disrupted. But we would only know exactly what the playing field looks like after the court has made a decision in that case.
But Queen's Counsel Hal Gollop, one of two attorneys who made arguments to the CCJ on behalf of the Office of the Attorney General in Guyana, urged the CCJ to dismiss the appeal.
I urge the court to disallow the appeal. To disallow the appeal.
Yes.
And I should ask the court not to be persuaded by my friends' urging, to find that both parties were wrong, so we should have an order in suspension. That would defeat the practical political purposes which have brought us here.
Right.
Because we have been brought here by political considerations. So that too would create a burdensome and unnecessary administrative bungle if this court were to make that kind of order which my friend has urged it.
In sports, we are motoring. The names David Somerville Jr., Doug Gore, and Kyle Gregg should rev the anticipation of a promise of continued keen competition and rivalry at the Jamaica Race Drivers Club's second race meet of the year, Circuit Wheels on Fire, set for Sunday, May 26 at the Jam West Motorsports and Adventure Park in the Grill, Westmoreland. The Carnival of Speed marked the start of the season at Dover last Easter. In football, Jamaica are out of the CONCACAF Under-17 Championships after losing 2-1 to El Salvador at the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida on Wednesday. Steven Vasquez put the Central Americans in the 45th minute, sending head coach Hopton Gilchrist into the break considering technical changes. They doubled the lead in the 70th, though midfielder George Flores Rajay Wright pulled one back for Jamaica in the 82nd minute, but it proved to be only a consolation. And in other sporting news, former FIFA boss Sepp Blatter plans to sue World Football's governing body and his successor Gianni Infantino for allegedly spreading false information and damaging his reputation. But he claimed on Wednesday's interview that statements issued by FIFA regarding alleged payments he had received contained false information. He alleged that FIFA had spread fake information and a deceitful representation of the facts. And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.